Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this session right now. I have yet another prolific personality with me today. The origin story, this is where we always start off with whenever I have a conversation. But I'll let the person itself do the talking. And from there, I have a lot of questions which will definitely show you why I am so flabbergasted and why I'm quite excited and looking forward to this. I have JS Mukul so with me. He is an Indian foreign officer, retired right now, and Professor Emeritus, which in itself is a high point right there. And there's a lot more. There's a lot more in between, a lot more after, a lot more before. It's going to be power packed. So thank you so much for coming on to the show. And so we are looking into the origin story. Where did this start from? J.S. Mukul, and how did the Indian Foreign Service happen? And in between, you were the dean of the of the place where foreign offices are being built right now. But before that, there was no actual official college, or how did that go about?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, thank you very much first, Alan. Delighted to be here and your show. Thank you for this. No, actually, I belong to UP.
Okay.
But I was born and brought up in Bangalore. My parents happened to be there.
All right.
I'm a product of St. Joseph's College, Bangalore, and the Kengeri Gyan Bharati University, Bangalore. I did my political science with international relations. And then I took the civil services exam, the UPSC.
Okay.
We were in 1980 exam, 81 batch, the second year after the Kothari Commission had changed the UPSC system, which is actually the present system right three levels of exam: the preliminary, the mains, and then the interview.
Okay.
Anyway, I think I was fortunate to have made it.
Before that.
And then, of course, the training and the posting started. We have a system of a compulsory foreign language being allotted. I was allotted Arabic. I happened to be in this region. That's why I started with Damascus, where I learned the language. And over the last 36 years in the diplomatic service, I've had 9 foreign postings, of course, interspersed with the stints at headquarters.
Okay.
And of the 9 foreign postings, I think I've been very fortunate to have had four terms in the Arab world, 3 in the Gulf.
Okay.
So it was Damascus, of course, with breaks, not continuously. Then I was here in the UAE as first Secretary Economic and Commercial in Abu Dhabi. Right. And again, I was the Deputy Head of Mission, Minister Economic Political in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And my last posting in this region was as Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman.
Yes.
I've also done 3 postings in Europe, Consul General in Munich. Before that, it was Counselor Disarmament in Geneva.
Okay.
And my very last posting was as Ambassador of India to the Netherlands.
All right.
And then 2 postings in my neighborhood in Kandy and Colombo, both in Sri Lanka. So that's in a nutshell, my story. But after I retired, or superannuated as we call it, in 2017, I was reappointed by the government as Dean of the Foreign Service Institute, which is today known as the Sushma Swaraj Institute of Foreign Service. It is in fact the premier institution in the country for training of all, of course, Indian diplomats, but also foreign diplomats.
Okay, for people from outside they come in.
Oh, a lot of them. In fact, just before the pandemic, I think it was 2019, we did 36 special programs for foreign diplomats. So 36 countries, you can say broadly. There are different programs. Some are groups of countries. We do it in for Central Asians together, and we do it in the BIMSTEC format and thing, or also bilaterally. So a premier course there is what is called the professional course for foreign diplomats, which is done twice every year. So we get 50 diplomats from 50 countries twice every year. So anyway, so that was for 4 years. That took me to the end of 2021. And then now, after 40 years in the diplomatic service with the Ministry of External Affairs, I'm trying to find my roots in the private sector, in an educational institution, in a university. I am, as you
Sushant
mentioned,
University.
I'm Professor Emeritus in the School of Business and Director of International Relations in Sushant University in Gurgaon.
In
So
Gurgaon.
that
That is
in
okay.
brief is my story, for
This-
whatever it's worth.
we started off saying that this is, in a nutshell, this is definitely a lot. This is a big aspect in itself right there. And I can pick off from each other point. We'll segue into the conversation. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
You can use those questions as a platform because I want to make vasool of the time that I have you for. You're definitely an expert in international relations. That much I can say, just purely from the experience alone, because we say that experience is the best teacher. And you have served various diplomatic positions. Okay. They would be especially in the Gulf states, as we mentioned, Oman, UAE, and Saudi. What do you think are the main challenges and opportunities for the Indian diaspora that is settled over here in terms of cultural integration between the country that they are from and the country that they are in right now? And how do they preserve that sense of Indian identity? Because it is quite hard to do that because you're surrounded in a very different environment. And that is on one side. How has the leadership of those countries, how have they helped with this? How has this entire picture unfurled, so as to say?
So it's a big
That's
question.
a big question.
The
It's a loaded question.
diaspora. I'll try to answer this, Alan. No, basically, I think we have the Indian diaspora across the world today.
100%. Yes.
We estimate, I think, it's either 31 or 32 million. This includes both PIOs and NRIs.
Okay.
PIOs are those who have gone abroad and they have now, over the years, attained foreign nationality.
Okay.
Mainly in the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, but in large number of countries.
Understand.
Then there is the NRI community, which is mainly concentrated in the 6 GCC countries,
Okay.
and of which I had the privilege of serving in 3 of them.
3 of them.
Yeah. Now, let us first understand Indian community or Indian diaspora is the largest in each of the 6 GCC countries.
Okay.
Now, why does that happen?
Alright.
Why I would submit that Indians are the favored expatriate community in each of the GCC countries.
Okay.
There are reasons for that.
All right.
One is their hardworking nature,
Okay.
what they bring to the table. Each of the Gulf countries, I'll posit, has been built by the hard work, the sweat and toil, and the talent and skills of expatriates from a large number of countries.
Okay.
But I would put the Indian diaspora
First.
right in the front of that.
Okay. All right.
That is one.
Okay.
Second factor I would say is that the Indian diaspora community is a very law-abiding community.
Okay.
It has the lowest crime rate, for example. So
Okay.
that is something which has also contributed to it being considered the favored community or favored diaspora by the host countries.
Okay.
And then, of course, the prowess that they have. I mean, we all know about the IT skills,
Yes.
but it's not just the well-to-do or the professionals. It's right from the work ethics, right from the labor, right up to the top.
All right.
And we have today the Indian diaspora in all levels.
All levels.
Right from
Okay.
the baseline, if I can call it, right up to the top, leading businessmen.
Tenacity to hold on anywhere.
Anywhere. So, all these factors, I would again submit for your consideration, are considered factors of stability by the host countries. Indian community or Indian diaspora has become a factor of stability in each of the GCC countries,
Okay.
and hence the favored community.
Okay.
To go to your last question, which links up with this, and the local governments, at least that was my experience till I was in service, till 2015 was the last time I was working in Oman.
Okay.
The local governments and authorities recognize this, acknowledge this, and are appreciative of this. of the contribution that the Indian diaspora has made in each of the countries in its different ways.
Okay.
So that is one side of one part of your question. Why is the Indian diaspora doing so well? That is the reason why it's doing so well. And what is the reaction, or what is the
leadership,
or the leadership, or the authorities?
So they're looked forward. They're favored to be.
Looked forward. They are the favored. Otherwise, how do you explain that they are the largest numbers? I mean,
understood.
From anything, yes, we are a large country. That is also true.
Okay.
But so all these factors combined, and today India has strategic partnerships with most of the GCC countries. Perhaps all. I am not up to date on that, but the contribution of the Indian community is an important pillar in each of these strategic partnerships between India and the GCC countries.
Okay, all right. So, we had been talking about the Indian diaspora in general and them coming away and staying in a different place altogether. The cultural assimilation, or the idea of cultural assimilation, naturally nobody would be thinking about it just like, as a conversational piece. But the small things, right? Growing up, we might see, okay, you rather stay away from them when they're from a different culture. Or you can also see, go ahead, be friends with them. And then your identity is getting changed. So for the second or the third or the fourth generations that is over here, away from the homeland, I'll keep it like that because India is a big place in itself. And we have diaspora all across the world, as you mentioned. There is this culture from the homeland, which in itself is very diverse, very rich. The culture where they are part of, again, which is deep and rich. And then putting these two things together, there is the third culture that these kids are part of, which is not necessarily, for either of these parties to accept, but the kids are going through it. What do you think about that?
No, I look at it not as blocks, one culture, second culture. I think the credit in this, I'll give the credit to the Indian diaspora and the community.
Okay.
They have adapted themselves. You use the word, I think, integration also. They have integrated well in the sense that they have taken to their country where they are living while retaining their roots, links, or essential identity with their home country.
Okay.
And that, I think, is something that needs to be appreciated.
Okay.
And I think I don't see that as a major challenge. I think it only, as you said, very rich Indian culture, very rich Arabic culture. I think if two rich cultures come together, it only makes it even richer.
Okay.
So that is the way I look at this.
360 Radio.
Listening is a virtue.